This is Island Voices, looking at the incredible history of Manhattan Island and talking to the people who have made it incredible. My name is Chance Kelly. Welcome aboard. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today has been writing, singing, and recording music for over 50 years. He has recorded dozens of studio albums over that time, along with several live albums and several soundtrack recordings, including work on Boardwalk Empire, which itself has led into yet another dimension of a long and storied and layered career. And we will talk about that as well. Stephen Holden, who knows something about it, who's written for the New York Times, Rolling Stone, Village Voice, said of this gentleman that he has proven to be far and away the most candid diarist among the singer-songwriters who brought confessional poetry into popular song. He wrings more human truth out of his contradiction than any other singer-songwriter of his generation. That's pretty good. That's something. He himself has said of life and art that everybody pretty much has the same gory details, which is why autobiography and art, for that matter, work. So rather than me go on anymore, I'm going to let the foremost expert on this self-styled one-man guy speak for himself. He's going to tell the story infinitely better than I will. So with that, I'm extremely honored and happy to be able to introduce you to my friend and not so distant family relation, singer-songwriter Loudon Wainwright III. Welcome, Loudon.
Hi, Chance. How are you?
Great, great. It's great to see you.
Good to be here.
So I've been listening to your work with Vince Giordano.
Mm-hmm.
And the album is I'd Rather Lead a Band, right?
Right.
I tell you what, man, I love your music.
Uh-huh.
And that's not really that's not, you didn't write those songs, but it's amazing. It fits you like a glove.
Well, I'm glad you think that. I mean, that was a real, you mentioned Boardwalk Empire. I did I sang on some music that Vince played on for some episodes of Boardwalk Empire, and we also did years ago, I think in 2003, we did the music for The Aviator, which was a Martin Scorsese
right
movie.
Yeah,
which was also a period piece of that kind of popular 1920s 30s music. The Great American Songbook, it's generally called. So Randy Poster, who's a friend and a music supervisor, said we should do an entire album together. I didn't think it would happen, but they pulled it together, and we recorded it. We did it in 2 days, although it took a long time to decide what songs to sing. But it was a very happy experience, and I'm very pleased with the way that it
awesome.
turned.
One reviewer said of it, what this collection illustrates is your ability to find the emotional core at the heart of these songs and deliver it with style and grace like the true rascal you are. Now, I hadn't been fully enlightened to what a rascal you really are entirely until I started doing a little more research on you for this interview. You were quite a rascal.
Was I?
Oh yeah. But you also said that this experience was freeing because you could shed your Loudon Wainwright III-ness.
Yeah. I've been, as you mentioned, I've been writing songs and recording and doing shows for a half a damn century now. And, as you're a performer, so that in the beginning you have to kind of create a kind of character, in a sense, that you present to an audience. So I wrote a certain type of songs, kind of sarcastic, hopefully funny, ironic, self-deprecating, and I kind of created this persona, and that's this Loudon Wainwright III guy. So to be able to put that aside and just take these songs, which a lot of your audience, I assume, would be familiar with some of them, My Blue Heaven, and Ain't Misbehaving, for instance, are generally well known. but to just approach the material like an actor would, really, and just try to find the emotional life in the lyric and in the music which Vince made was a real pleasure and a nice change.
Yeah, I gotta believe it was, and it's gotta be important to have a freshness to your career. I mean, you don't need to reinvent yourself, but it's nice to be able to find little pockets of reinvention like that, like this thing that you're doing. So that's great. I really hope to be able to see some of that stuff live, and it's just what a great added dimension to a multi-dimensional career. I know you said that early on you stopped listening to the competition because you early on you sensed an importance. I don't remember the actual words, but you sense how important it was to be unique, to be an individualistic, to think in your own way. But that being said, that was 50 years ago, and you're going to leave that alone. I just want to ask you about a couple of other performers, singer-songwriters who I don't compare you to, but these guys, I do see threads that, you know, I hear their songs and their songwriting, and I say, okay, yeah, in certain ways I can relate that to what Loudy does. And one of those is Harry Chapin. Did you happen to know him at all?
I did know Harry Chapin. I knew him, you know, we were contemporaries. You know, had he lived, he would probably be 74 or 75.
I think he was just a few years older than you. Yeah.
Yeah. But I knew Harry. He was, would you believe, an absolute sweetheart. Of a guy.
Would, yeah.
He was the nicest man.
Wow.
You know, normally performers are competitive with each other and, you know, kind of egomaniacs. But Harry was there's nothing he was just a wonderful, friendly, nice. And as we know, all his charity work was a huge part of his, you know, he created this thing for people, for hunger and things like that, which I actually performed. I did some benefits for those shows that Harry would set up. But as far as whether or not I see myself as, you know, of similarities between he and I, you know, I mean, you know, if you think of a song like Cat's Cradle, which I think is one of his great songs,
right?
You know, his interest in generations and particularly in fathers and sons is something that I've certainly written about in my work. You know, I've written a lot of songs about my relationship with my dad, my relationship with my own son, Rufus. So I think Harry also saw that the family was an interesting, a rich kind of territory to explore and dig in.
And here's the amazing thing. He died when he was 38 years old.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Like when you think about it now, you look back, he was a 38-year-old guy. And even to write that song, you almost have to be like 60-ish to write that song, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's interesting. And I have heard he was a really nice guy. What about Warren Zevon? Same question about him. Did you happen to know him?
Well, I happen to know that Warren Zevon was a son of a bitch.
Yeah. Okay. So different guy.
But only you know, in a great way. I mean, he was irascible and disagreeable and combative, and I don't think he did a lot of charity work. Yeah. He was a great songwriter, though.
He was. Yeah.
And we did not do any shows together. Again, he was a contemporary of mine. You know, I'm a fan of his work.
Yeah.
And very funny. And anybody that can make me laugh gets a pat on the back. So, no, Warren Zevon was a great songwriter.
Yeah. Bob Dylan. That you saw Bob Dylan at the Newport Folk Festival in 1963. And there was a whole lot of identification going on. The not-so-nice Jewish kid from Hibbing, Minnesota, sounded like a 60-year-old black blues man who'd listened to a ton of Woody Guthrie.
Yeah.
Is there still any of that identification going on?
Well, Bob, Bob is if we're talking singer-songwriters, and we've been mentioning, and certainly male singer-songwriters, although there are plenty of great female singer-songwriters.
Yeah.
Guys with guitars, Dylan, but by virtue of this is no news to anybody. He's the Muhammad Ali of singer-songwriters. Just the amount of brilliant work he's done is just incredible, and he was a huge influence on me. And you mentioned that I didn't want to listen to people. The first person that I decided I couldn't listen to anymore when I started to write my own songs was Bob Dylan.
Right.
I had to stop listening to Bob Dylan because he was the man. Now I've recently, again, I'm at this advanced stage. I mean, Bob is still alive and kicking, as we know, and he's not doing them now, but he was doing shows. I went and saw him before the pandemic started at the Beacon Theater in New York. I guess he did like a week there or something.
Oh, wow.
And I hadn't seen him perform in probably over 20 years. And, his voice is ravaged with time, and but he was great. He was great. And the songs, were different than I remembered them melodically in some cases, but he put it across. That night, he really was brilliant. So
wow.
He is, he continues to be the new Bob Dylan.
At 80 something, I think.
He's going to be 80 on May 24th, I think.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought 82. Amazing. I want to ask you some questions about some things I've heard. Maybe you can fill me in. Why and how was the kids' band way out of hand?
The kids' band was
way out of hand. The album is Strange Weirdos, and the song is Valley Morning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. I did write that.
You did write it.
Yeah. I used to live in Woodland Hills, California, in the Valley, and my next door neighbor had a son, a young 16, 14-year-old kid who had a band and used to drive me crazy. And so that's what that was.
It's such a great, because I've been in LA, right? I've spent some time out there. You capture that LA vibe so well, especially up in the Valley. Yeah. I listen to that song, I can smell the lawns.
Yeah.
I'm there. I know exactly what you're talking about. The mood. I can hear the kids' band across the lawn. What a great descriptive song that is. It's amazing. Now I also want to know about how, where, and why did the junkie manage to steal your blonde guitar? What's the deal with that?
Boy, that was so long ago. I don't remember. I mean, that was I do remember the type of guitar it was for those of your listeners who know about acoustic guitars. It was an Epiphone, a blonde Epiphone, and it was a beautiful guitar. No, I'm getting this wrong. Right. I smashed the red guitar. I bought an Epiphone, and then a junkie stole it.
Where? What street? It was New York, right?
It was New York. I probably bought it down at Matt Humanoff's that used to be on Bedford Street.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like that.
No, they're on Bleecker Street.
Yeah. Well, actually, they're closed. They were.
Yeah.
But the guitar that was stolen was an Epiphone. The guitar that I smashed, the red guitar, was a Gibson Hummingbird.
Oh man, it's great. All right, there's something else I want to mention to you that though it may stink to high heaven, when I listen to it now, it's infinitely more bluegrassy than I remember, and it's infinitely more like happy and upbeat than I remember.
You're referring to Dead Skunk.
I am.
And which I'm sure will be in the first sentence of my obituary. But that was a very amazing thing that happened. I wrote this silly little song about running over a skunk up in on the 22, I know you spent some time in Westchester too, on that stretch that runs from Katona to Bedford Village. The skunk had already been massacred, but so I got kind of the second wave, if you will. And I just thought Dead Skunk in the Middle of the Road, Stinking to High Heaven. I went home, and in 12 minutes I had this song, and then it's the record that was the hit. As far as the way it sounds, we recorded that with a great band. They used to, now they're long gone, a band called White Cloud. And I taught the song. They were kind of a folk rock band, and I taught the guys the song in the studio. It's just 3 chords. And they turned on the machine, and we got it in the first take.
Wow.
Which is very unusual.
Where was the studio?
The studio was a studio in Blauvelt, New York, in Rockland County.
Yeah, I know Blauvelt.
New York,
to live there.
And it was called 914, which is the area code out there. And it was strange that we got it so quickly. And I think they had to do some vocal repairs. But
crossing the highway late last night, he should have looked left and he should have looked right. He didn't see the station wagon car. The skunk got squashed and there you are. You got your dead skunk in the middle of the road. Dead skunk in the middle of the road. Dead skunk in the middle of the road. Stinking to high heaven. Take a whiff on me, that ain't no rose. Roll up your window and hold your nose. You don't have to look and you don't have to see, 'cause you can feel it in your olfactory. You got your dead skunk in the middle of the road. Dead skunk in the middle of the road. Dead skunk in the middle of the road, and is stinking to high heaven. Yeah, you got your dead cat and you got your dead dog. On a moonlight night, you got your dead toad frog. Got your dead rabbit and your dead raccoon. The blood and the guts, they're gonna make you swoon. You got your dead skunk in the middle. Dead skunk in the middle of the road. Dead skunk in the middle of the road. Stinking to high heaven. Come on, stink. You got it, it's dead. It's in the middle. Dead skunk in the middle. Dead skunk in the middle of the road. Stinging the high heaven. All over the road. Technicolor. Oh, you got pollution. It's dead. It's in the middle. And it's stinging to high heaven.
it was #1 in Little Rock, Arkansas.
I know. I got that from the book. I'll tell you what, man. Look, it was a great early success for you. I mean, and that had to be important in so many ways, just monetarily and for your own confidence in your career and all that. But for the record, it doesn't sound like the rest of your music. I don't really like. I know you were the Dead Skunk guy for a little while, but like you didn't remain the Dead Skunk guy as far as I could see.
No.
Very
soon after that, I became. I wish I was a lesbian guy. Well, I've always written novelty songs and silly songs, and I just a couple of years ago I wrote a song about my medications called My Meds.
Yeah,
So
I know that one.
I've always delighted in making audiences laugh. Some people don't like that. They would prefer I did the more serious, family driven material. But Bob Dylan was a hero, but so was Alan Sherman and Ray Stevens and Jonathan Winters and
Right.
comedians, those guys. So Dead Skunk was a novelty song, and it paid for a lot of child support.
God bless it.
Yeah.
God bless it. Now, I want to mention you're very musical family. For a minute, you have spawned an entire generation of other singer-songwriters, including your son is Rufus Wainwright and his
Right.
sister Martha Wainwright, both of whom their mom was Kate McGarrigle, a
Right.
singer-songwriter. All fabulous musicians. And you have a daughter named Lucy, whose mom is Suzy Roach. Both of them are singer-songwriters in their own right. And I remember Lucy when I was picking her up at, Anna's birthday party when they were 5 and feeding her cake.
Yeah.
And now she's out there in the world and to getting it done as a professional, just like you.
Yeah, the kids. I have 4 kids, and 3 of them, Rufus, Martha, and Lucy, are singers and songwriters. My other daughter is called Alexandra Lexi, and she's a writer. And I think she decided that no, I'm not going to do that singing songwriting thing, but understandably so.
So the writing seems to be the other option, right?
Well, my dad, who you knew very well, was a great writer, a journalist. He had a wonderful column in Life magazine called The View from Here. And when I was a kid, when I was 12 and 14, he was nationally famous. I mean, people, oh, you're the son of the famous Life magazine columnist. And he was a great journalist and writer. So I think, myself and some of my kids, my sister Sloan is a songwriter. A lot of the family members are think about words and putting them together in the right order, I guess you could say.
And I did mean to mention Sloane because she's a good friend of mine as well. And she's a fabulous performer, fabulous lady too. Now, you've written and performed a one-man show that you referred to as a posthumous collaboration with your writer father. And then you went on and said that you never wanted to be a writer because you had observed how hard and boring and lonely it seemed. And growing up, you said, I watched my journalist father at work torturing himself while writing, trying to write, and worst of all, not writing. But just as your daughter Lexi is now a writer, I gotta tell you, buddy, you are a writer. And you have been forever. I think you know that now, but you wrote a book, and the book is called Liner Notes by Loudon Wainwright III, which you wrote in 2017. The entire title is Liner Notes, Loudon Wainwright III on Parents and Children, Exes and Excess, Death and Decay, and a few of my other favorite things. And sometimes I feel like doing books on Audible is a cheat, sort of. It's definitely the opposite in this situation. You have to get this on Audible because not only do you narrate it, but whenever you reference a song, you just break right into the song and you play the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. It's easily the best Audible book I've ever had, hands down. And I've really been enjoying it. Now, I want to say that you do have this very sort of sardonic, dark, satirical approach to your singing and songwriting your whole career. But the funny thing about you is, and even though there are some, quote unquote, broken families and you had a few marriages along the way, yet you are an extremely family oriented guy. And it's funny because you have a real deep-rooted sense of family, a real deep-rooted sense of sweetness about staying close to that family. And you see it when you go to the shows and you perform with Rufus and Lucy and Martha and with Suzy. And what a great friendship you and Suzy have to this day. And you perform with your sisters. And I think it's really, that's one of my favorite things to see when I go and see your shows and your family shows, and how special that is. It's just a really wonderful, unique thing. And if I were introducing your music to somebody who just wasn't familiar with it, and I were going to throw out 3 songs, just because 3 is a good number. These are the 3 I would give them. The Days That We Die, which you sang with Rufus, and that's on Older Than My Old Man Now. Mm-hmm. And that was a really beautiful, emotional album. How did that go with Rufus? Did you guys co-write that song?
No, I wrote it. I wrote it, and but it seemed, there's a section in it. Well, you have a guitar in the back, and I know you play and sing. So, there's a bridge. There's 3 verses or something like that, and then there's a kind of musical change. And it just occurred to me that Rufus and I could trade verses on the song and then sing together in harmony on the bridge.
You'll never change, neither will I. We'll stay the same till the days that we die. I'll never win, neither will you. So what in this world are we gonna do? People hate change, they make a fuss, they stay the same, people like us. Folks wanna win when they can choose. More important than that, folks don't wanna lose. When did it start? How did it go wrong? Why in this world can't we get along? Each victory should be good news, but when I have to win, you're the one that I lose. I wanna change, I don't know how. We need to change though, I know that now. It's sad but it's true, and I have to say that the days that we die aren't that far away. You'll never change, neither will I. We'll stay the same till the days that we die. I'll never win, neither will you. So what in this world are we gonna do?
Yeah, that was a happy afternoon when we recorded that one, and it's about the difficulties of families are really difficult. We're talking about the people we're the closest to, and it's not easy. And our family has been, jiggled around, and I split up with Rufus's mother when Rufus was 3, and his sister was 2 months old. So, you're close, but they're strangers too. So, but he sings great on that. It was great to be able to do that one together.
He really has one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard. I mean, he has just a divinely beautiful voice. I love hearing you guys sing together on that. The second one would be The Picture.
Oh yeah.
And now I knew Teddy too. And by the way, my regards. I know Teddy passed this past fall. Loved Teddy. What a sweet, wonderful. I know you. I know all your siblings. I know Andy too.
Mhm.
But that song, Loudon, my God, you just those old pictures. You
Right.
capture it. There are pictures on the piano, pictures of the family, mostly my kids, but there's an old picture of you and me. I know exactly what you're talking about. And then you were looking at my paper, watching what I drew. It was natural. I was older, 13 months more than you. This is your little sister. You were the oldest, she was the second.
Right.
A brother needs a sister to watch what he can do, to protect and to torture, to boss around. It's true. But a brother will defend her, for a sister's love is pure, because she thinks he's wonderful when he is not so sure. Because I have a daughter now, and I didn't have sisters growing up, but I have a daughter now who has two brothers, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's just so beautiful the way you capture that. And the
Thank you.
song is so beautiful.
There are pictures on the piano, pictures of the family, mostly my kids, but there's an old picture of you and me. You were 5 and I was 6 in 1952. That was 40 years ago. How could it be true? We were sitting outside drawing at a table meant for cards, and it must have been in autumn, falling leaves in the front yard, with a shoebox full of crayons, full of colors oh so bright, in a picture in a plastic frame, a snapshot black and white. You were looking at my paper, watching what I drew. It was natural, I was older, 13 months more than you. A brother and a sister, a little boy and girl, and whoever took that picture, they captured our own world. A brother needs a sister to watch what he can do, to protect and to torture, to boss around, it's true. But a brother will defend her, for a sister's love is pure, because she thinks he's wonderful when he is not so sure. In the picture there's a fender of our old Chevrolet or Pontiac. Our dad would know, surely he could say. But dad is dead and we grow. It's true that time flies by, and in 40 years the world has changed as well as you and I.
It's an important song of mine. Yeah, and it has a strong effect on people. Sisters and brothers. So when I write a song that works in the way that song does, I feel extremely grateful to have received it, if you will.
Yeah, it's a powerful song. It really is powerfully beautiful. And the third one would be You Can't Fail Me Now.
Well, now that is a song. That's a great song, and I have what's called a writer's credit on it. I collaborated on it, but the guy who really wrote most of that song is Joe Henry.
Oh, is that right?
Joe,
Yeah.
I did some records. Joe Henry's a wonderful singer-songwriter and a friend of mine. And when I lived out in LA, in the Miracle Mile, and also in Woodland Hills in the Valley, I did 2 records with Joe. And we recorded You Can't Fail Me Now. I mean, he played me a voice and guitar demo of it, and I suggested a lyric change, and again, to create a bridge, a musical change in the thing. But I have to say that song is much more Joe Henry's song than mine, but it's a great song.
Well, okay, let me say this. It's the one song that I hear and I'm like, all right, that to me is Dylan-esque.
Huh.
Just to me. But and I've never said that about any of your other songs. But there is a melody to it that has the beautiful part of what Dylan does is in that song to me.
I know that fan is moving air. I can see it in your hair, but I can't bear to breathe it in somehow. I'll rise and fall with you, 'cause you can't feel me now. I'll rise and fall with you, 'cause you can't feel me now. Salt is sweet upon my mouth, dark throws sparks against my house. The stain of love's a smudge upon my brow. But you see through me, and you can't fail me now. You see right through me, and you can't fail me now. Bit off more than I can chew. It's something that I tend to do when fewer words are what we need. And how you bite my tongue, and you can't fail me now. I rant and rail, but you can't fail me now. And storylines that tell the tales I never would allow. God knows the name of every bird that fills my mind like angry words. But you know all my secret heart avows. We're taught to love the worst of us, and mercy more than life. But trust me, mercy's just a warning shot across the bow. I live for yours, and you can't fail me now. I live for your mercy. Can't feel me now. You can't feel me now.
I could listen to that song just on an infinite loop. It's just such a beautiful song.
Well, I think it's Joe. I mean, he's really an interesting songwriter, and that song has been covered by other people. Bonnie Raitt recorded a version of it, and some other people have recorded it. It's a really good song. I wish I'd written all of it, but it's mostly Joe.
God, I love that song. It's just so beautiful, and that is on Strange Weirdos also. Yeah, beautiful song. I want to get to this show is essentially about the history of New York and connecting people who are connected in some way to New York. Now, most people on this show won't be connected in this way, but you have a whole different, another dimension to you that anchors you to the history of New York. And I mean the real history of New Netherland. You're not just related to Peter Stuyvesant, you're a 10th generational descendant directly from Peter Stuyvesant. And I looked it up.
Yeah. Well, when I was a little kid, people, my parents and other relatives, grown-ups would say, there was before there was, my famous dad or Rufus or anything, my fifth cousin was a 5-star general called Jonathan Wainwright.
Yes. Yeah.
Who actually surrendered to the Japanese in Bataan or Corregidor or something like that. But he was a very famous, important U.S. general. But the big relative that we were related to was the first one-legged governor, the only one-legged governor, as far as I know, of New York or New Amsterdam.
Of New Amsterdam. He was the final director general of New Amsterdam. They were taken over. It was taken over in 1664, which you probably know, by the English, and then it became New York. But you, as far as I can tell, you're his great grandson.
Well, I'm glad to know it was that many greats. So from all, we were talking about Warren Zevon. It sounds like Peter Stuyvesant was the Warren Zevon. He was a very rough, disagreeable. He treated everybody badly. He was a tyrant, in fact. But the city, which was a bunch of damn fields down there on that island, needed a tyrant, to pull all the Calvinists and the Indians and the Lutherans and the English and the French.
Well, he took over for a guy named Willem Kieft, who had created the most ungodly mess down there, right, politically, because he had started a violent, awful war with the Native Americans, with the Algonquins, and it was just a disaster. And people were fleeing from the island and from the colony because of this. And Stuyvesant had to take over and fix all that. And he was a tough character, definitely, and that I think the type that they needed. And it was in office far longer than any other governor of New Netherland. But wow, that's amazing. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about the early history of New York and New Netherland. I have never come upon a direct descendant of Stuyvesant.
I have to tell you a funny story, which I just actually heard the other day. Rufus was here. I'm out on Shelter Island, which is in Suffolk County, New York, at the end of Long Island, and Rufus has a place in Montauk, and so he and my granddaughter, his daughter Viva, and Yorn, Rufus's husband, were visiting us, and we were talking about the Stuyvesants. I have cousins in East Hampton, Stivey Wainwright II and Stivey Wainwright the Fourth, and Rufus knows all of these people too. So when Rufus did a show in Holland a couple of years ago, I don't know if it was in Rotterdam or Amsterdam or somewhere, and he started to talk to the audience, and the Dutch speak. Anybody born after World War II speaks excellent English, so was speaking in English, and they were understanding it all. But he was talking about his uncle Stivey. The audience burst into laughter, but like loud boy, and he couldn't understand why they were laughing. Well, he later found out that the term Stivey is a Dutch word, slang word for, how shall I say it? The exciting event that happens to a guy if he has a Stivey.
Is that right?
Yeah. So he's cracking this audience up, and he doesn't even know. He's saying, "Well, then Uncle Stivey did this," and God, it's a good story, and he told it much better than I did. But that's a new high in family lore.
Amazing. Why is music important to us as a society?
Well, It's certainly, you know, as a kid growing up, I mean, music was just, it changed my life. The music that's on the record that I just did with Vince, I'd Rather Lead a Band, you know, that was the music of my parents' generation. You know, it was the music that they made love to and danced to. And as a little kid, you know, I was very influenced by that music, just hearing it in our living room. And that, you know, that music is the great songs are poetry, and the melodies. You know, we don't even need to start to talk about Irving Berlin or you know, Rodgers and Hart or any of those amazing writers. So music continues to be a huge thing.
That music in itself is history.
It's history, but it's living history, because it's about the human heart, and you know, a lot of it is romance and love songs. How great love is, how frightening and horrible love can be, and how sad it is.
Right.
The song that we recorded on the album called "A Ship Without a Sail," which was a Rodgers and Hart song, and it's just the most heartbreaking song you could ever imagine, about how somebody feels that they're a ship without a sail. I mean,
it's a beautiful song. It's one of my favorites on that album. Well, Loudy, listen, you know, I try to keep these things to a half hour. I could go on for 3 hours with you. Really, this is so much fun to do, and so generous of you. You've always been so incredibly generous to me and nice to me and encouraging to me. I honestly don't think I would have gone into acting if I didn't know you, because you were my one sort of contact in the entertainment business. And you personified it. I mean, you made it like it was something someone could actually do. And you were not just, you know, you encouraged me, and you gave me all sorts of positive input. And I forever thank you for that.
Well, you're very welcome. You're a very, very talented actor, and you do a good podcast too, man.
Thank you, sir. Loudon Wainwright III. He is a real part of New York and its rich history, and we thank you so much for coming on Island Voices and sharing some of that. Thank you so much.
All right, Chance. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you, Loudy. It's great to see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Isn't he awesome? Tour dates, discography, and everything happening with Loudy is available on his website, lw3.com. L for Loudon, W for Wainwright, and the number 3 for the third. Thank you so much for joining us on Island Voices. Please be sure to subscribe to us here and on our other podcast, Island, the incredible history of Manhattan Island from 1609 to 1909. Available wherever you listen to podcasts. Climb aboard. History's cool. Island and Island Voices are trademarks of Chance Kelly, Inc. Copyright 2023 by Chance Kelly and Yap Jacobs. All rights reserved.
I